Hey, good evening, everybody. We'll
Hi,
give
everybody. What's going on?
Patriot James a chance to finish up and let people get in. We already got 351 Cleveland in here, Austin, avid fisherman, Lynn, Fish Fever Outdoors, James Kirkpatrick, John Patrick Jr., hey, Sharina. Let's see who else we got. I see Thomas is in here. Welcome, guys. Yeah, I was watching the Patriot show, and Sharina's always fishing and stuff, and Thomas said he hadn't caught much of anything this year, and you know, sometimes it seems like that.
Sometimes you have good and bad years. I've had really, really good years. Now this year I'm doing YouTube. It hasn't been as good as years in the past, but my problem is I'm just pressed for time more than anything. So if you can't get out there, you can't catch them. That's the problem.
See, Matt, want to be outdoors is in. LG Bass, Lizabella Kirkpatrick, welcome. Uh, yeah, that's my deal. Work schedule has been so hectic. Hey, Lance, that I haven't got to fish as much as I want, and we're trying to remedy that. Which it's so hot down here uh, during this heat in midsummer like this, when you're 100 plus degrees during the day, you got to fish late at night or go out early in the morning, because once 10 o'clock hits, man, it's so hot out there. The fish move to deep water, they shut down, and it's not fun fishing. You're just miserable.
It's not. We were out on the Ohio this weekend. What was it? It was on Sunday, and it was like 90 higher 90 degrees. It's high in 90s up there, and we were dying. It was bad. Even with a
Yeah.
little breeze, it was bad. And it was the fishing was hard. It's July. I mean, what are you going to do? The heat, if it's not the spawn, it's the heat afterwards that does them in. I think they get turned on for a little while and they get turned off for even longer. I'm starting to learn in my old age.
Yep. Dan's Creations, welcome, Dan. Creole, Aaron, Catfish Regulators, welcome. Christopher Comer. I think I seen Miss D in here.
Hello, D.
Miss D. You
Lynn,
know,
what's up, buddy?
that's a heck of a woman right there, Miss D. She's got a full time job keeping Chad in line.
I adore her to death. Her and
Yeah.
Chad, to be honest with you. I spent the weekend with them this weekend, and it was a good time as always. It's always good to see my brother and sister out anywhere I go.
Mario Sanchez made it in. Welcome. Roger, Muskrat Adventures. Alicia, hello. Dale Hayslip, Valerie Irvin, welcome, guys. Big Mike. Yep, Big Mike, he's been doing that too. He's been sick and he hadn't been fishing as much as he was. And uh, guys, if y'all wonder where I'm at sometimes in your late night streams, I started a new job and I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning getting ready for work. So usually, if it happens after 9 o'clock, I'm done for. Uh, I usually hit the bed pretty early.
I also saw Sean from Catfish Heroes and Jeremy from Get Hooked or
Yeah,
Hooked
hooked
Up.
up
Hooked
here.
Up. Yep.
Yep. Yeah, Sean and them Catfish Heroes. I love watching him and Epic. Chris Usselton's in the house. Fishing Local 336. Welcome, everybody. Glad to have everyone in. Eddie Gross. Uh, yeah, I was watching some of the stuff on Facebook. Uh, Betty and Brandon would post pictures
Mm-hmm.
uh, with you down there. Hey, Mike Chavez, welcome. And I knew that was going to be a good time. And I like watching Betty because she just has such a passion for fishing, and she don't really care what species it is. She will catch them all. I
She's
mean,
she's out to get them. She's does a great job. I know she went back to work today, so she's probably getting caught up on her rest. She works long shifts, so in case she's
Yeah.
laying in bed watching or whatever, hello, Betty. I want to make sure I say hello to her, but I doubt it. I bet you she was passed out. She worked her tail off. If it wasn't catching fish, it was taking care of me, and I'm so grateful. So if either of the Crosses are watching now or tomorrow morning, whenever, I want to make sure I tell them thank you, and the whole crew out in Ohio. Everybody was super kind to me, and you should have seen the spread of food they had out there. That had made Mike Chavez a proud man.
Absolutely. Hey, Polar Bear, welcome. Your boy Troy. Hey, Troy. Kevin with Palmetto Cats. Welcome, everybody. Yeah, anytime you get to go out and you get to meet people like that and spend time fishing, it's always a great time. Hey, Setting Hooks.
What's going on, Ryan, buddy? How you doing?
It's always a great time just to, and it's not so much how many fish you catch or the size of fish you catch. It's the camaraderie. It's the time you get to spend with each other. Those are memories, that you will carry with you for the rest of your life. It's just great times. So I know my wife's on me to start using my vacation and spend more time pursuing my passion and getting to meet people and fish and traveling around. And I'm, I'm going to do it because, if the wife ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. And I definitely want to keep her happy. It makes the home life a
It
lot
does.
easier.
If Mama's happy, you're happy.
Yep. I conned her because when they come out with this new CatCon event in Kansas City, Missouri, I told her I wanted to go, and she's a history buff.
Mm-hmm.
We love history, especially Civil War stuff like that. And she's like, "Well, if we go, there's some places I want to stop on the way home," and so I kind of had to plea bargain with her, but that's fine with me. Uh,
I think you're going to have plenty of places to choose from in the upcoming year or so. I think people start looking at some of the events like Patriot James had, the Mendota event, the Ohio event, and I think it's going to start a trend, and you're going to be able to pick and choose where you go to, whatever's most convenient for you. But I will warn you, though, you're not going to get any rest. You'll
yeah,
you'll decompress, but you're not going to get much rest. It was a good time, but it was good to get home and kind of rest up for a day.
well, and sometimes it's like that. When you come home, you need a vacation from your vacation.
Absolutely, you're not kidding.
I see Fishing with the Squirrel made it in. I seen someone said happy birthday to Art. I didn't know if Art snuck in here or not.
I did see Art. Happy birthday, brother. How you
Happy
doing?
birthday, Art. Art and the One Ton Fishing Club. I love those guys. They're a lot of fun to watch.
Good
I
people.
want to get up there and fish with them. There's Mike Sampson. Hey, Sampy. I'd like to fish with them. And hey, Cody Robinson. We don't have skipjack down here, but I see a lot of people on the Tennessee River and the chains of the rivers up there and the lakes, and they go skipjack fishing and stuff, catching their bait. And man, to me, I could go out there and catch skipjack and have a blast.
That does look like fun, doesn't it? I've
Yeah.
never caught skipjack in my life, but that's one thing I want to try. And I had some talk with some people in the family and beyond, and we're gonna make that happen hopefully in the next year. Maybe we'll hit Watts Bar or somewhere down that way. Maybe even head down and visit Doc's neck of the woods in the next year. So it's never ending, the possibilities that have been opened up to me, and I'm really grateful from everybody in the catfish community.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. That sabiki rig, and you're out there with light tackle, and there's times they're catching them three at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have fun doing that, I know it's bait fish, but man, it's still a blast. And I would have fun filling the bait cooler up.
Creel says he's caught 200 in a few hours before, and it was a blast. I can imagine. That'd wear
Yeah,
me out. I'd need a nap after bait fishing.
I would like to get down there because Creole's close to me. He's in Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to get over there and fish with Creole. Hey, Miss Tina. And Sean T, welcome. We don't have the Asian carp here either. And I
I don't
watch
as well.
Creole. I watch Creole down there snagging and catching them Asian carp with the boys. And they were catching them for bait, and they had a blast. Hey, Larry Oliver, welcome. And to me, you know, we catch a lot of bluegill, not just for the blues, but I love bluegill for my flatheads. And my wife, I can take her out there and she'll get on them bluegill, and she has a blast on that light tackle. And the hardest thing to do is getting her to stop. She can go out there with a box of worms, and she will sit there all day just having the time of her life.
Maybe you just need a bigger bait tank.
Yeah. Hey, David Hamilton, welcome. I'm trying to redo mine. I'm going to get with Epic because it got to where my bluegill were dying every 3 or 4 days.
Hmm.
And we'd go catch a bunch, and I'd get them. And I had troubles. My pump burned out one time, just quit. And got up the next day, and we had just stocked it. And I got up the next day, and all my bluegill were dead. And I'm
Bad.
like, "Are you serious?"
What kind
And
of pump are you using?
we had one of the industrial pumps,
Okay.
uh, like the store bait shops use.
Okay, but it's
Uh,
not. Is it a submersible sump pump type deal?
no,
Okay.
it it's made to do multiple tanks. You can split it off, and you can run up to 6 tanks on it.
Hmm.
And I've had it for years, and but it finally quit and gave up the ghost. And I think a lot of it is I want to keep more fish, so I want to come up with a filter system to where, as if bluegill and stuff, any fish, any bait fish, you put them in that tank and stuff, they'll start releasing secretions and stuff.
Right.
So I want a better filtration system, and I think that will help a lot. The more I can filter it, not just with the aeration and stuff, but I can have the oxygen and the filtration system, and I think that will help a lot.
It
But
definitely will. I had the reason why I asked that. I had a buddy of mine who was using a sump pump without asking me about it, and he was cooking his bait fish. The only thing that was surviving in there were the bullheads until I had mentioned that he needs to get that pump out of there or put it on a timer or something because those sump pumps they'll warm that water up in an hour.
yep.
It'll
Well,
be
and
done.
even though I know, hey, fishing for freedom, even though I know they're made to be in the water, I always worry about them shorting out, you
Yeah.
know, because I will be the guy that has my net in the bait tank when the motor shorts out and get lit up like a Christmas tree. So I try and avoid that
Hmm.
because,
Yeah.
stranger things,
Water and electricity don't mix too well.
no. And I try and avoid it. But I know Epic has a lot of experience with the bait tanks.
Hmm.
And, you know, my wife, she'll fish with minnows, stuff like that. Got her own worm bed started because she loves to fish with worms and stuff. And we may catch when the creeks are flooding and stuff. We may have goldfish or perch. I love to keep bluegill all the time. Hey, Brian B. Degabound, welcome. Uh, I love keeping it. Especially this time of year because the fish are so finicky when you go to the lake or you go to the river, uh, I don't like taking just one type of bait because you never
Absolutely.
know what the fish are going to hit. And what they were hitting yesterday may not be what they prefer today.
If they're
And
hitting it all this time of year.
yeah,
I agree with that. Fun. Here's a quick thing that I like to do sometimes. If I'm fishing for channel cats in our little local reservoir here, not the river, but the actual reservoir, I like to bring actually stink bait with me. Basically, what I need to do in those areas is get that scent to go downstream a little bit and bring those fish out into the flats later on in the day, and that stink bait will do it. Once I start getting small hits and small pecks, that's when I start bringing out the cut bait. This way, the bait
yeah.
lasts me a little longer, and I'm able to start getting fish to come that way. But that's a good thing to do this time of year is get in that channel, get in that current, and get that scent to travel a little while and just wait them out. Sometimes that's the only thing you can do.
Catfish Kyle, welcome. And I'm from Oklahoma, but I'll fish Oklahoma. I'll fish Texas. I will fish anywhere there's water and there's catfish. I will go. I don't mind. I see fishing with the Chad made it in. Welcome, Chad. Uh, I love to fish. And you know, you got to adapt and be versatile in fishing. Uh, that's one thing. Like the areas that you fish up there, I notice, it's primarily channel cat or flathead.
Yeah, that's it.
Uh,
No blues here.
yeah, y'all don't have the blue population
No,
that we do down here. Uh, and like down here, we have tons of gar. So a
no
lot of
gar.
times, see, we have lots of alligator gar down here. So with our live bait, them gar will really wreak havoc. Hey, SK, welcome.
What's up, SK? How you doing, buddy? Hello, Chad. I want to make sure I said hello to Chad too.
The gar will kill your live bait just as quick as you put it out there, and you can go through some bait. So sometimes I'll take some of the live bait off and use it for cut bait just to keep the gar from killing all my prime
Yep,
bait. Hey, minnow
definitely.
dunkers. So up there, I know you fish the fox and stuff a lot.
I do.
What is your for channel cat and your flathead too? What are your favorite baits and your favorite presentation?
It depends. All right, my favorite bait. I love using cut bait because it's easy. Certain parts of the river I can catch flathead on cut bait. Other parts of the river I can't. So I don't have one favorite bait. I also will use anything that's available to me. I don't use chicken for fishing because that's just not part of it. That's who I am. I know a lot of people give me a lot of flack for not doing it or whatever, but that's just who I am. So let's say in the spring, all right. In the winter, if I'm ice fishing for channel cats, I'm using minnows. I'll put 3 or 4 minnows on a treble hook, put them on a dead stick or on a fish trap, one of those
Yeah,
auto set rod holders, and that'll usually do the trick. Come spring, when I'm looking for flathead, I'm using candy bar type baits like suckers and creek chubs. Suckers are hard to find, they're expensive to buy. The suckers I use, they charge $7 a piece. I try not to use those. I got a couple of spots I can use them. For channel cats, year round, probably the best bait you can use up here is cut sucker, whether it's frozen or fresh. For some reason, they really like that. And then I'll make the transition into bullheads for flatheads, green sunfish for flatheads, obviously bluegill, cut and live. I like using the big baits. I In the fall, I'll hit dams and I'll stock up on shad. Our shad are small. Our shad are maybe at the most, I don't know, 4 inches large. I can get a whole bunch of them.
yeah,
I'll save up 10 bags, 1 pound each, and that'll usually get me into the spring because I do like to use those for channel cats in the spring as well. But you know
yeah,
what? Frozen shad is so hit or miss. They're either really soft or they're not.
yeah,
Um, if I could find them better, if I had, I keep saying I want to get live scope for crappie, but I also want to use it to find shad, to find the bait fish and stuff. I think I'd end up using it more for that. And someday maybe we'll get it, maybe we won't. But all those baits seem to work great. Some work better than others at different times of the year. Some work better than others, different, a day apart. So I
yeah.
do like you. I try to keep a selection of stuff. Usually, when I'm fishing with my friends, somebody will bring bluegills, someone will bring bullheads, and we do like Patriot James is always saying we share the bait. We're pretty good about looking out for one another. We all have bait tanks, so if you're short on bait, I can call somebody up and swing by their house and have some in an hour or two. So that helps too.
That's always nice.
Yes, it is.
I see Kenneth Powell made it in. Puddle Walkers, welcome guys. Uh,
Puddle walkers. I like that name. That's a cool name.
yep. And I love the shad too, but I like to keep them fresh, not frozen.
Mm-hmm.
I will freeze them because there's certain times of the year you can go out there and throw your net, and one cast your net is full.
That's what
Then
I
you
do at the dam. I'll do 3 casts and I'll have a whole cooler full of those little shad.
Yeah, and then you may go through 3 or 4 months where you just can't find the shad. They're in pockets in deep water where I can't get to, and that's when I resort to stuff like my bluegill and stuff like that because we don't have. Hey, John boys, welcome. We don't have the suckers down here.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, now, the bullheads. Bullheads are great uh, flathead bait down here.
Absolutely, here too. That's all I use them for.
The one things that I really like about the bullheads here, especially in the creeks when they're flooded, is the gar. Do not mess with the bullheads. Anything else you put out there, you will fight the gars. Hey, Aaron, welcome. Uh, Chrissy Brown, welcome. Uh, but the gar just don't mess with the bullheads as much. And there's something in that DNA with that bullhead. I guess because they attack the flathead's nest and
Yes,
go
they're.
after eggs. That
Mhm.
if there is a bullhead anywhere around, that flathead will find it and it will eat it. It will kill it.
It absolutely will. And bullheads here work so well because they stay alive all night, and channel cats don't mess with them. I have tried cut bullhead. I've never cut anything on cut bullhead. Those in drum, I have no luck with. I don't know anybody who's cut anything on cut bullhead either. So I
Yeah,
think
I
it's
haven't.
more of a, that tells me it's an aggression strike.
Yes. Hey, DL King, welcome. You can take down here. We have farm ponds, and these guys will get these farm ponds, and they'll be loaded with them bullheads. Well, they would get a hold of me, and they'd ask me, man, if you catch like a 15, 20-pound flathead, can you bring it to me? And man, you can take a 15 or 20-pound flathead and stick it in a pond full of those bullheads, and he will start thinning them out fast. And
They will. Yeah,
you
Ryan
know,
says that that a bullhead will get destroyed by a larger channel, a big channel cat. And I think he's talking, I'm going to guess he's saying 18 pounds plus, and I can see that happening, but I've never caught one on a live bullhead. And thank you, Dee. She just congratulated me on catching my very first blue cat. So I want to say thank you, Dee.
yes, ma'am. It's always great to get that first one out of the way. Hey, Sunfish Assassin, welcome. Uh, but the channel cats you have up there, they're not small channel cats. You have a lot of nice channel cats down here where we are. You don't have 8 and 10 pound channel
No.
cats
We
down
have
here.
them here. They're mixed in. We have plenty of small ones, lots of small ones. I'm not going to lie, but we got some nicer ones mixed in. And the further north you go, like to Mendota, we'll talk about that's where you get the really big ones.
Yeah, see down here, we've got so many blues and so many flatheads, and other lakes have like the silver cats in them that the channel cat do not grow to size. If
Mm-hmm.
you catch a 5 or 6 pound channel cat down here, you've done something because they just don't live that long.
I did get a 4-pound channel cat on the Ohio River, so they thought that was pretty cool. And you know what? We were suspend fishing. I had 10 ounces of weight on my rod, and that 4-pounder buried that rod in the water too. I was kind of worried what had happened if I hooked up in a huge blue. What was going to happen?
Yeah. Hey, Eugene Brooks, welcome. Man, I watched you on the Mendota trip with that little whisker whip. And when you hooked into that channel cat up there, man, it was so much fun. Even sitting here watching you fight that fish. And I'm a fishing addict. So when I see y'all guys hook into a fish or something, my adrenaline is going just as much as yours are.
That was legitimate excitement on my part. I'm a pretty stoic dude most of the time, and especially if I hook into like a big flathead, I kind of zone in and I get a little freaked out. But for some reason, that 16-pound channel cat on that 38-inch ice rod, that I was excited because there was no pressure. It was just fun. It was doing tail walks. It was jumping out of the water. It was pulling drag. It really got me going. That was a pretty memorable catch. I have to admit.
That's why I love catching fish in shallow water, especially when you hook a big one. Man, as soon as he knows he's hooked and he takes that and that hook is set, he'll come up and tail slap that water, and they fight more aggressively in that shallow water, and it is so much fun.
Absolutely. That's what I noticed first thing, because a lot of the waters we were fishing up there were extremely shallow and extremely weedy. So those baits were resting on top of those weeds. So when they'd hit it hard, you would know it. They'd break the water, and you'd know you were on, and you're fine. Then you'd see your rod go down.
Yeah. But when you hear that tail slap, when you hear that splash, from that moment on, your adrenaline already kicks in. You know what's happening. You know it's there, And I get so excited sitting at home. Uh, like I love Steve Douglas. I love watching him. I've watched him for years, but he has caught so many big monster fish. He doesn't get excited like I do, and he'll be he may be cooking a burger or something on his grill, and that rod will go down, and I jump up off the couch and I'm screaming, and he's like, well, and he just keeps with this burger, and he catches them, and when he hooks into them, he gets that big one. He don't get real excited. He'll be like,
But
oh,
but you do. I want you to tell me this though. When he has someone in his boat that's not used to catching those big boats, look at the smile on his face when his guest hooks up.
yeah,
That's where I'm at for a lot, at least with the channel cats. And last year, I got to take a couple of lifelong friends flathead fishing, and to see them catch those fish, it really, really, really made me happy and got me excited for them.
yes,
Even to the point of where we're dragging baits on the Fox now, which is something I just recently started doing. I'm letting whoever I'm bringing with me catch pretty much all the fish. I got this running joke on my live stream where we're playing Deadliest Catch, and I'm Captain Sig, and whoever's on the boat's Edgar. He's got to catch all the fish.
Yep.
So we got that going on.
Let's see, Mike Turner made it in. Maurice Kaysen, Corey the Flatty Daddies.
Corey, what's up?
Eric Burnside, welcome everybody. Yeah, and Steve, when he does hook that big one, he don't get all worked up. All you'll hear him say, he'll be like, "Oh, mercy," and
you don't know what's going on internally though either. He could be, thinking to himself, "I need to land this fish. I don't want to lose this fish. I need to get it on camera." That happens a lot too to some people.
I see Johnny J&S Outdoors, Lee Evans, welcome guys. It's fun, and I loved watching him because, Lisa, his wife, was his camera person.
That I knew. Yep.
She would go out there, and they spent a lot of time together. She would film him, and he does giveaways. He would take people out there fishing, and like you say, he would get them on them big fish. And Steve would tell him, this is what you need to do, and he stays real calm, like he talks them through it. And to me, when I take somebody fishing and they hook into a fish, I'm just as excited as they are. And it's great to share that. And I love it.
I get a big kick out of it too. Here's a little side story. I have a friend of mine, one of the lifelong friends, and he was always he bothered me for like half a year. I want a big flathead. I want a big fish. I want a big fish. I'm like, you got to earn it. I'm not just going to take you out because you're going to catch one and you'll be done. So I made him fish channel cats with me for a year before I took him flathead fishing. But when he got, I put him on a 12 and a 24 the first night he went, and he was so excited, man. He was crazed. It was insane. That was after catching 4, 5, 6 pound channel cats all year, but he likes them still too. We still fish once in a while.
I say Miss Katie Collins made it in here. Hey Katie, welcome. Yeah, and flathead. Once you catch one, you're instantly addicted. And my wife, she has not caught a big flathead or a big blue cat yet. So my goal is to get her on one. She's nervous, she's scared, she's got a bad shoulder and stuff, and she's like, well, what if I can't handle it? I said, well, you're not going to know until you try it. But that's my goal, is to get her on some. And I have more fun watching other people catch fish than myself. Hey, Michael Williams, welcome. I've already caught big fish. I want to see them do it and share that experience with them. And once someone catches that big fish, especially that flathead, and you get that power, they are addicted for life. It is over. All it takes is one, and it could be 8 pounds, but the way that flathead fights is so much different from the other fish.
It is.
You feel that surge with every whip of that tail, and that surging and pounding on that rod. I told my wife, she's like, what does it feel like? I said it's almost like someone trying to jerk your arm off and pull the rod out of your hand.
It's like
Uh,
something's walking on the ground is how it feels. Because a lot
and
of times, because of the shallow waters I fish, they stay deep. If you look
yes,
at my PB video, you'll notice that I was in 5 feet of water, and it took me, 4 or 5 minutes just to get him off of that bottom. And
yes,
that's the way they are. They'll get down there and they stay down there. That's part of it. And while they're down there, and what I've noticed when I've bank fished for them and brought up like smaller ones, obviously 20 and 30 pounders, is they'll use that ground to their advantage. They really do. They'll get down in there. They'll spread out and they'll crawl across that ground, and you can feel that. But
yes,
what's even a better feeling than that? Let's say, and I don't advise people start using J hooks, but I do use them from time to time. When you hear that bait clicker just zip once, you pick up that rod. If you got a real sensitive rod, you can feel the gills opening and closing on those fish.
yep,
And if your heart doesn't start rushing when you feel that little the pump in your rod, there's something definitely wrong with you.
yep. Hey, Fishing the Dot, welcome. I love it, and it's such an adrenaline rush, and it never gets old. Uh, that's the thing with me about fishing. The waters that I fish, you never know what's going to be on the line. When that fish bites, it may be a 2 pound fish, or we've got fish over 100 pounds. It could be that 100 pounder. And talking about the flathead and the way they bite and stick to the bottom, you make a good point, Mark. I cannot tell you how many times that rod has went down, and people think they're snagged, and
Mm-hmm.
they're not snagged. That fish is holding that bottom. And if flathead love rocks, they love timber. If any of that is around there, he will get under that stuff. And with the flathead, it's a patience game, because if you stay there long enough, you'll start to see him swim off. And I can't tell you how many people hook into that flathead and they think they're snagged, and they're like, I'm going to break it off. And I'm like, no, leave it alone. He is there. You just got to wear him out.
Even
He's
if
not
he is snagged, they're
off.
pretty good at swimming out. If they can get in there, they can get out, and they usually do, at least in my experience. I've had worse luck losing fish after I've got them out of snags rather than while they're in snags, to be honest with you.
And flathead are not like the blues. The flathead is going to stick to that bottom. He's going to hug that bottom. They are very, very stubborn, and they are very, very powerful.
And Roger brings up a good point in chat. He said today that his flatheads were on channel edges. I was just going to mention that too. Just because they like to be in wood and cover and rocks doesn't mean that's where they're at. They got to travel. They'll stay at the top of a long, slow hole. The ones that are up at the top of the hole are the ones that are ready to eat. The ones that are in the hole, yep, the ones in the hole aren't necessarily going to eat, which is the same way it works for cover too. That's why they're so hard to catch. You can be 25 yards from a flathead and never know it.
Yep. I think that's where the fish finders have kind of hindered people a little bit, because they drive by and they see fish on that depth finder, and they're like, I know fish are here. Good night, John Boy. And they'll sit there all day and fish on an inactive fish just because they can see them on the fish finder. Like you're talking, look at the ledges, look at the holes, see if the fish are in the bottom, if they're up on the ledges, if they're staged ready to eat. Is there bait fish in the area? What's going on? Because all these things you have to take into consideration, because there is a lot, whether it's a river, a lake, a pond, there's lots of dead water. Not all water. Just because there's water there and there's fish in the water does not mean the fish are right there where you're fishing at. Hey, Catfish Curtis. Welcome.
I have yet to catch one on a lake, and I know that Ryan over Setting Hooks. I've really been meaning to give him a call and try to get him out there, and we might hit one of the lakes up in the chain. Maybe I can talk him into that in the next couple of weeks, even though real busy. But he's been doing pretty good on the lakes as well. That's one of the things that I think I'm trying to get in the next year. Get done is get a flathead on a lake. I did a lot of lake fishing this weekend, reservoir fishing, which I'm not really used to, which was an experience, but it was a good one. I think I had a lot of fun doing that as well. So maybe that experience can can get carried over to up here on the chain of lakes, which is the top end of the Fox is dammed off up in McHenry County, and that turns into a huge bunch of lakes, smaller like pothole lakes that are all chained together. And there's flathead up in there too. Just haven't had time to check them. I've been busy learning my stretch of water is what I was concentrating on the last few years, and it does take years to do that.
Yes, it does. Hey, Nick Sogo, welcome. Brad Caudell, welcome, everybody. Another thing with the rivers and the lakes, the biggest difference I see, there are big fish in the lakes. They're more scattered out. They're not concentrated in certain areas.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like the rivers have a bigger number, a bigger population of the bigger fish. You know, with CPR and stuff like that, it helps the lakes. You can grow big fish in the lakes if you have the proper environment and the proper food. It will support the big fish. But the lakes and the rivers, guys, look at the Tennessee River. Not everybody lives there, but that river is loaded with big catfish. When you go out fishing, be realistic. If you're not on that Tennessee River, don't watch the guys on that Tennessee River and say, I'm going to go out and do that, because you don't have the number of fish and you don't have the size of fish they do. Don't set yourself up for failure. Be realistic.
I have a theory about lake flathead versus river flathead. I think river flathead do a lot better, not just because they like current or they're genetically adapted to it over the years. I think it's a lot easier for them to have food delivered to them. And when you got current, they have more opportunity to feed. But what's offset about it is on rivers, what everybody says is that 95 or 5% of the river holds 100% of the fish.
Yep.
That makes it a little harder, but when you get on them and you learn their patterns, I know a couple guys here on the Fox that do do way better than me. I'm not even going to kid around. They do great. They spend a lot more time on there. They know what they're doing. They're always willing to help me. Thank God they are, by letting me know, are they feeding up, down, in the channels? Are they fishing? Are they in the wood? I really appreciate all their help, but it's people like that you turn to, start thinking about where to look for those fish, and you'll do a heck of a lot better. Divide and conquer is a good way to start too.
And it's definitely different from lakes to rivers, because your rivers, you can target areas where the fish are going to be. In a lake, in one single lake, there could be thousands of places that are all similar that you will find the habitat where a flathead will live, and they will be scattered out more. They're not concentrated. They can survive anywhere, and they're literally traveling forever. And they're harder to locate and pinpoint. That does not mean you can't catch them. You just have to work at it. And, to me, it makes it more special, because you're not going to go out there every day and hammer big blues or big flathead. So when you catch one, even at 20 or 30 pounds, to me, I'm excited because you won. That's an accomplishment. Because not everybody can go out and find them on the lakes or even the rivers. You'll have guys. Hey, Jeremy's Tournament Cats, welcome. You'll have guys go out there and say, "Man, I've been fishing the same body of water for 2 years, and I'm just not finding the fish." Well, what are you looking for? And a lot of the time, guys are fishing where they think the fish ought to be, not where the fish actually are.
Yeah. I used to have a bad habit of that, saying they got to be here. They're not, so they don't have to be there. You learn that once you're willing to step outside the box and try something different. Here's a quick story about my very first flathead. I fished for a whole year practically, obviously not through the winter, so through one season, let's say, right? And where I finally got the one that I caught, my very first one, was on the opposite side of the river I was fishing on. Mind you, the Fox River in that section has a choke point. It was literally less than 100 yards across the river. And once we adapted and figured that out and started fishing on the opposite side of the river, it was on. That's when the addiction started. Once we
Yep.
figured out how to divide, conquer, and change it up from time to time, and try to figure out where they are during the year. And again, I'm not great at it. I know lots of guys on the river that are great at it, but it's a learning experience for me. And once I started doing that, my success rate went way up.
Well, and another thing, a lot of times people are fishing the right area. They're in the right spot where the flathead are, and even the big blues, what they're going after. But they go out there and they fish it for like an hour, 2 hours, and they're like, man, there's no fish there, and they leave and they never go back. Guys, your bigger fish like that, they may feed only once every 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be there on that day that they decide to feed. You can't just say, "Well, I fished that once, nothing was there." The fish may have been there; they just weren't feeding at that time. So don't give up on spots. Put your time in, and if you know there are fish there, uh, fish it multiple days in a row if you can.
Fish it
Uh,
for a whole month. I've done that. I'm a firm believer that if there's a big flathead in that area and you really are almost positive there is or there should be,
yeah,
who's to say that the day after you or the day before you got there, he didn't eat a 4 pound carp and he just isn't laying there, food comatose at the bottom, so to speak. I use that term lightly because I'm a firm, but also a firm believer that fish don't think like humans. Fish think like fish.
yeah.
Humans fish like humans. But when they don't have the need to chase those calories down, they just may lay dormant and save those calories.
They're
They're
not
not
going to
going to
bring
feed.
that energy.
Nope.
They save their energy to where when they have to have it. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
Freddie's Outdoors, welcome. That's the biggest thing people don't understand. If that fish does not have to go feed, he's not going to be out just swimming around for his health. He's
Yeah, they
not
don't
going.
take joy. Yeah, they don't take joy rides.
No, he's not going to the gym to get on the treadmill and work out. He's going
Mm-hmm.
to lay right there in his hole, and that's where he's going to stay. And sometimes your bait can be right there, but if he's not feeding, he's not going to come out and waste his energy to come and get it.
No, there's no
Uh,
reason. That's how they survived all these millennia.
yeah,
Catfish Curtis says he got his first 20+ pounder last Friday. Congratulations.
that's awesome, Curtis.
Makes me happy when I hear that stuff, man. I always get excited when I see people talk about stuff like that online or in the chats and stuff. It makes me happy. It's good to see, them all cranked up on fishing. You know what I mean? I get a
Well,
kick out of that.
you know what happened? Just like Curtis, he caught his first one over 20 pounds. The rest of his life, he will be trying to catch more over 20 pounds now. That will be what drives him. And it happens to all of us. At once upon a time, everyone in here probably started catching bluegill. That's what we started out on, catching bluegill or bait. And look at us now. We're all chasing 100-pound fish, trophy catfish. It all starts somewhere. That's why, I'm a grandfather. I got my grandkids. We take them out, and to watch them catch a fish, it may not be a big deal to a lot of people, but once they catch that fish and you see that excitement in their face, and when they come up to you and they're like, "Papa, I want to go fishing. Papa, I want to go fishing," you know that passion is alive in them, and it's going to drive our sport. And my granddaughters will fish just as much as the grandsons. I mean, it's not age or sex or race. None of that matters. Fishing is fishing.
Anybody can turn a handle on a reel, right?
Yep. Hey, Frank H, welcome. Uh, I love it. Hey, Tim Molina, welcome.
What's up,
Uh,
Tim? How you doing, bud?
that's the thing about fishing. Anybody can do it. Uh, you know, even with people's with disabilities or handicaps, they can get out there and they can still do it. And there is something out there for everybody.
I'm
Uh,
glad you mentioned that, and you talked about bluegills, and I'm going to bring up Panfish Nation. I know Lyle's in here. If you guys haven't checked out the Panfish Nation channel, check it out. Lyle's really wants that channel to grow, rightfully so. But last week, our guest was fishing or living MN Outdoors, and
yes.
it's a husband and wife, and the husband is legally blind, and he does not let it stop him from getting out and enjoying outdoors.
Yep.
So don't let anything stop you, whether it's your male, female, handicapped or not. Get out there.
Yep. And I know a lot of you guys like, well, we don't panfish. Guys, I'm going to tell you, if you're going to be a successful cat fisherman, you're going to have bait.
If you're going to be a successful grandfather, take your grandkids pan fishing. It's America's favorite fish. I don't care what anybody says. You got all this chest. Everybody's got their chest out in the catfish world trying to catch the biggest fish. Competition is great. But, when you see that smile on your kids or your grandkids or your neighbor's kids' face, it'll melt anybody's heart. It's that old adage when a little girl asks, to have an invisible tea party, you sit your ass down and you have a tea party. So be a part of everything, and don't badmouth people for loving their panfish, because I adore them as well.
Our oldest granddaughter, one of my favorite memories of her fishing, we took her to the creek, and it was me and my wife, and we're out there and we're catching bluegills for bait. And she's got her little fold out chair, and there's lots of sand there. So she's playing in the sand, and my wife hooks this bluegill and goes to reel it in. Well, about that time, my granddaughter falls forward out of her chair, and her head goes right in the sand like an ostrich. And about the time she pulls her head up, my wife swings that bluegill in, and it's right here in her face. And she had sand all in her eyebrows, all on her face, and that did not bother her. When she seen that bluegill, the only thought in her mind was, I almost kissed it. And that's what she said. She said, I almost kissed it. And to this day, I still picture it, and I can still see her face with her, I almost kissed it.
And that's just like the tip of the iceberg. If I'm having a rough day working, I do work from home, so I'm not going to say I'm out at the office or whatever. I'm able to sneak out at lunchtime. I'll grab my ultralight, like Ryan's saying, and some Berkeley one. I don't even have to buy worms. I'll use the Berkeley 1-inch minnows. I'll go out and catch 6 to 10 panfish at lunchtime, come back, and I'm feeling pretty good. The fresh air, the concentration, the focus on what you're doing, it's really good therapy for whatever's bothering you.
And young kids, guys, if you have not taken kids fishing, you don't know what you're missing. Everyone would think I was crazy because I would have 5 or 6 kids at a time with me that I would take out there fishing, and they would have a blast. And I had a blast taking them fishing. It's memories for life. And my granddaughter, our oldest granddaughter, she'll call me. And she's like, Papa, put my chair in the car. She's ready to go fishing. But that's where we all started out. I mean, someone had to take us, and we had to learn. And that's a family tradition you can pass on for generations.
And they taste really good too. If you haven't tried eating bluegill, give it a shot. You might really, really like it. And that's a resource that's so easily replenished. You don't need to bring that 30-pound flat, that 20-pound, that 15-pound flathead home. There's no reason for that. Crappie, bluegill, perch, a lot of them, just harvest responsibly, and you'll be good to go. And that's another reason to stay involved. I mean, and it's also good to change it up. If you're chasing flathead 24/7 or chasing big catfish or even regular catfish, you're going to burn yourself out after a while. Change it up, keep it fresh, and keep the sport alive.
The catfish and the bluegill do not spawn at the same time. When the catfish are on spawn and the bite's tough, go catch you some bluegill. Hey, fishing chick, welcome. I got a friend of mine, and he knows I catfish, and he's got a farm pond that has not been fished in many, many years. And he's like, man, just come out and we'll see if we can catch some bluegill. And it is loaded with crappie, bass, and bluegill. You can go out there with a small beetle spin and catch everything. But the problem is his bluegill are pound to 2 pound bluegill. They're an
Mhm.
inch and a half to 2 inches across the back. I got big hands and they're way bigger than my hands. And I'm like, dude, I can't use that for bait. Uh, but you can take them
Well, you know,
bluegill.
if he needs you to thin it out, you got to do it because there's a reason they're that big. Somebody's been thinning those fish out. If somebody wasn't, they wouldn't
Yeah,
get that big. People don't realize that.
that pond is real mossy, and you'll
Hmm.
see them bass coming up in the moss around the bank, and they're trying to attack them bluegill through that moss. And hey, Art, happy birthday, buddy!
There he is.
And it's loaded, but we take that smoker and take them bluegill, and we'll fillet him some of them bluegill and smoke them with some lemon and some pepper,
Ooh, I got to
and
try that.
yeah, smoked bluegill is awesome.
Have
Uh,
you ever had them on like crappie? I imagine it would work good with bluegill too, but I call it crappie on the half shell. Well, I'll actually take a crappie, right? And I'll fillet it, but I'll leave the skin on it after I scrape the skin. So I'll scrape the scales off, leave the skin on, and I'll cook it on the grill scale side, well, skin side down. That skin gets nice and crispy. You can layer whatever flavors you want on the top of it, and
yeah,
it's actually really good.
yes,
That's like my new favorite way of eating them outside.
yeah. And see, that's the deal. Hello, Mr. Duggar, welcome. Uh, Down here we can use crappie for bait,
Hmm.
but my deal, if I catch a crappie, I'm gonna eat that sucker. I know some people might not like that, but man, I love to eat crappie. Crappie is a good eating fish,
Agreed.
and uh, you take them and you cook that crappie, and it's nice and flaky, and it's almost like butter that melts in your mouth. It kind of reminds me of the old cotton candy. You just stick it in your mouth and it just dissolves. That's when you know you got some good fish right there.
Hmm.
Hey, SF, welcome. But yeah, you know, and another thing I would tell people, guys, make your tackle match what you're fishing for. If you're going after, 2 to 10 pound channel cat, don't go out there with an extra heavy rod and this big old winch of a reel, because you're not going to feel the fight. It's going to take everything out of it. Uh,
It's like
go,
winching a bike. It's like reeling in a bicycle with a crane. It's no
yeah,
fun.
yeah. Go with lighter tackle. Match your tackle to what you're fishing for. That's like me when we go bait fishing, or I'm catching them big bluegills in that pond, or even them 2 and 3 and 4 pound largemouth bass.
Hmm.
I'm using a 12-foot crappie rod, a jigging stick that I've got a little Abu Garcia Carnival spinning reel on, and I go out there with that jigging stick and I have a blast.
I
Uh,
also want to. I'm also a firm believer that you do not want to be underpowered as well. I know there's a lot of people out there that are looking for line weight records and stuff like that, and I'm not a firm believer in that at all. I
I don't
really
either.
don't want. Yeah, I don't want somebody looking for, let's say, a big flathead on 6 pound test because they want to prove how good of an angler they are. Well, that 6 pound test is going to get spooled. Let's say that flathead takes off with all that line. Who's to say it doesn't get back into its gills or into
Yep.
some other fish's gills? There's no reason to have 100 yards of mono in the water, things like
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
I'm
And
really
even
an I'm really an advocate about use the proper gear. There's a definitely a happy median there between fun and irresponsible. So keep that
yeah.
in mind, people. You'll know what it is.
And even when he breaks it off, if that flathead gets off that line, you still got all that line in that body of water.
Yep.
Someone's going to get snagged up in it. A fish, an animal, a bird. It
Hmm.
may get caught in someone's prop, their trolling motor. Uh, that fishing line wreaks a lot of damage, guys. Not just to the water, but it's the animals in that entire ecosystem.
Hmm.
The birds, anything that waters and feeds there. That's why it's so important as fishermen when we go out to keep our areas clean. When you go out and fish, don't leave line out. Don't leave trash laying. Keep it clean. Animals are curious. They will get into that stuff. Uh, you know, be be considerate to nature and others.
Leave
This,
it better than when it was when you got there's a safe way to bet. And in the meantime, you could win a $25 gift card with Avid's,
yep,
contest where he's weigh it and take pictures, send it to him. You never know what could happen.
yep. Anglerholics, welcome. That was a great idea that Abbott had.
Hmm.
We always carry a box of 55-gallon trash bags in our vehicle. It's sad, but these guys down here have no respect. You'll go into a place and we'll clean it, and you got guys. A lot of it's not even guys fishing. They're just out there drinking and partying, and they leave trash everywhere. And just about every time you go, you're picking stuff up.
Yeah, don't get frustrated. Just do it and be on your way, and it'll be over before you're done. That's
Yep.
the way I've been treating it. I used to get so upset with that, but you know what? Me being upset did not change anybody from doing anything
No,
else. So all I can do is be part of the solution instead of the problem. And that's the way I kind of look at it. And
that's
I
exactly
think
right.
Avid's absolutely being part of the solution. So good for him.
He took a proactive path to it.
Hmm.
Hey, KY Redneck, welcome. We all know it's a struggle. It's very frustrating. But if you can't change it, you got to do something to make it better. Uh, and you may not think it's that much, but look at the people that fish your body of water. Hey, Miss Lori, Laura the Explorer. If
Did we say hello to Brad? Brad Cudell? What's going
Yeah,
on, Brad?
I seen
Okay.
Brad come in. Uh, Brad is one of my popular people because my wife, when she fishes, if there's a snag anywhere around us, she
She
will
finds
find
it.
it. Yeah, we go through the lead and the hooks.
I got to meet Brad this weekend too. He's one of the other people that I got to meet. He was a real nice guy. It was really fun meeting everybody.
Well, I was really proud when Brad Caudell come into our catfish family because I was buying my weights other places from another guy and having them shipped here. Well, I like to support the people who support us. If they are in our catfish community and they're in our family, Brad Caudell, Lee Reed, anybody like that, I try and do business with them because I'd rather keep the business here and support our family than I would go to like Cabela's or Bass Pro or something like that.
Absolutely.
Uh, you know, and it's great that these guys offer this service to us, like the Uncle Lou's hooks and Demon Dragons and stuff. They are phenomenal.
Yeah, that reminds me. I need to order something from. I need to order some some weight, some floats from Uncle Lou's.
Yeah, I love them, and you know, for me, it was hard for me to find the 2.5-inch oval peg floats, and Uncle Lou had them, and I got with them, and he ships it right out, guys. Uh, but it's all quality. Uh, I love it very much, and it all stays within our little tight knit
Yeah,
community.
yeah, those
And
2.5-inch oval floats are they're a hot item. They have been for a little while. I was fortunate enough to get on a bag of 100 of them for like $19, like 2 years ago. I still got plenty left. So, knock on wood, I'll have them for a little while.
see down here, I go through them because uh, Santee rigging down here at a lot of places, the Santee rig is the only way I can fish without losing the sinkers and the hooks.
Hmm.
And you may not think it, guys, but that Santee rig, even if you're fishing areas with lots of brush and stuff, with that float down there close to that hook, it'll ricochet off the branches and structure, and it keeps your hook from
Yep,
getting wrapped around it. And also, it adds that buoyancy to that sinker. So when you start reeling in, it brings it up high in the water column, and you're not getting caught on all that rock and structure underneath it. Rondo Perry, hey, welcome. Donald Weir, welcome. Uh, Little stuff like that, secrets. A lot of the places that are real rocky, the drifting weights, Jimmy fishing and gear, Santee drifters. Uh, People don't think about using that stuff from the bank, but it does work from the bank. Don't be afraid to try it. It will definitely save you a lot of tackle. And it's not just a tackle. It's like Palmetto. I watch Palmetto Kevin a lot, and he gets frustrated. There on that Cooper River where he's fishing and stuff, he gets snagged a lot. Well, every time you break off, you're leaving that line in the water, And us being the outdoorsmen we're trying to take care of our fisheries and stuff. So it bothers, emotionally to know
Uh,
that you're leaving that there.
all right, here's another. While you're on that topic, another reason why I use braid. Okay, braid. I can run 65-pound braid. Right. I know people have their pros and cons of braid, but here's a big pro. I don't have the diameter that I would if I was running a 65-pound mono. I
Yeah.
have no interest trying to break 65-pound mono. You know what it would be like. It would be darn near impossible. But since I'm running 65-pound braid, I could run a 50-pound mono leader. And you know what's going to break before I lose my weight and all that line in the water? The leader.
Yep.
A lot of guys run really heavy leaders, but they do that because they don't want to run heavier than, let's say, a 30-pound mono. And
Yep.
you can't break, it's hard to break anything bigger than that, which is the main reason why a lot of guys use the heavy leader at the bottom for abrasion resistance,
Yep.
but you end up losing all your stuff. So that's my secret. If you can get away with braid and it works in your waterway, that's another advantage to it.
Yep. Hey, Tony Harrison, welcome. That's the problem I have down here. There are so much rocks and stumps and underwater cover. I can't use braid. It
Mhm.
just disintegrates it. And that fish, you'll never get him in. I mean,
I get around that in different ways. Obviously, every time I reel in that line, the last 10 yards I'm checking, because if the last 10 yards aren't frayed, chances are above it they're not. I use that Suffix 832 in a high vis. You can see if it's frayed. It's pretty easy to see even with my blind eyes.
Yeah.
All right. Now, if you keep your rod tip high up out of the water, whether it's in a bank or whether it's on a boat, you get that angle high. You can keep a majority of the line in the rocks. When you catch a fish, I don't care if you're using mono or you're using braid, you should be checking that line. And the thing is, I think braid gets a bad rap, so to speak, because as people don't realize you do have to take the extra time to do all those steps and be very vigilant in it.
Yeah.
But the advantage of it is it's smaller diameter, much more sensitive, especially in smaller water. And if you're fishing with fishing with J hooks and stuff, you're going to get a better hook set, things like that, which is why I use it. And I have better control over the fish. In shallow water, I'm always worried about that fish swimming under the boat. Now, I got an aluminum boat. There's a lot of rivets you can catch on there. With braid and a stiffer rod and a fast tip, I can keep that fish below the boat, even in 5 feet, 4 feet of water. I'm able to control it. So I've really given a lot of thought to why I use braid, and it works for me. I have nothing against mono, but braid works for me.
That's all that matters. I know a lot of people that use the braid with the mono leaders. They just don't use it down here where I fish.
Yeah.
Because it is so rocky and it is so snaggy. Our bottom, it's all rock.
Concrete will mess up braid. I'll say that. Jeremy fishes that Mississippi River down there, and he had mentioned what they're called, but they have concrete slabs all the way along there, and that would make it rough to use braid. But
well, even down here, our lakes are full of that shell rock.
And that'll do it too.
It is like razors.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of guys, because I was one of them when braid come out. I tried it. There's guys down here that still try it, and they never land the fish. It will break them off every time. I'm like, guys, you can't do that. There's just too much stuff right here. Now there are places, if you're out in the open water, that braid with that mono shock leader, because I know a lot of people say, well, braid don't stretch, so they use that mono shock leader on there. Steve Douglas is one of them. Mm-hmm. He uses the braid for the line capacity, and then he uses the mono shock leader, and he's caught hundreds of thousands of fish. It all depends on where you're at and where you're fishing. You got to do what is suitable for your areas and the body of waters you're fishing.
And you know what? I'm definitely thinking about setting up a couple of reels with mono just for my boards. I think I have better results with the right now I'm running some Junior Proctor boards, and my if I was using an 80-pound braid, I'd be better off, but I don't need to. So I'm having a loop put a loop in the boards when I go to clip them in. So I actually have to reel the board in, and I'm starting to think that I'm losing fish because of that. So we may set up a couple of reels with mono just for dragging baits. If I'm going to do that, I might as well get line counters too. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. Hey, Wild Turkey, welcome. Uh, Another thing, guys, whether you use mono or braid, either one, uh, check your knots. Constantly pay attention to your knots and your line. Old knots will bring you heartache. Uh, if you have not been out and been fishing in a while, don't trust your knot. Cut
I
it
wouldn't
loose.
know anything about that, David.
Well, it happens to all of us. You
It
know,
does.
we get out there and we're excited. We're like, man, I'm going fishing. Especially if it's been a couple of weeks and you haven't got to go.
Or
You're
it's
so
hot
pumped.
out.
Yeah, you're so pumped to be on that water
Mm-hmm.
that you try and take shortcuts. And guys, I'm telling you, it will come back and haunt you. So be sure to check your line, check your knots. Uh, I don't care how big a leader you're using, how big your main line is. Uh, Still check your knot. Yeah, Laura, she lost one.
Yep.
Her knot come loose,
You
and
know, and I'm going to make another recommendation, especially for like for Lorianne. Get yourself some gloves when you go to check those knots because you got to pull on them pretty hard to get them to set.
yeah,
I have cuts all over my fingers. I'm not going to show you, like right in the cricks of the fingers. That braid will mess you up, and so does mono. Even the leaders mess it up when I pull them real tight. So if you have to tie it and then put on those fishing gloves afterwards to get those knots snugged up, I recommend you do that. It'll save your hands, and it'll guarantee your your knots are good. And worst comes to worst, the knot comes out when you pull on it. You know it was a bad knot.
yeah. Miss Lori, I wasn't just referring to you. Believe it or not, I've done it. Uh, that's why I know I've kicked myself in the rear. Uh, I've been out and fishing in the creeks and the rivers,
Mm-hmm.
and not check my knots, and I've had one hit and break it at the knot, and usually either by the hook or up by the swivel. And I hate breaking off because I know that fish has got that hook stuck in him. He's
Mm-hmm.
dragging line around, even though it may just be my leader line. But sometimes with live bait, my leader line might be 3.5, 4 foot long. And, I worry about him swimming, getting it tied up around a stump. And at that time, guys, with that 60 and 50 pound leader that I use, it's like a trot line. And I don't know if you've ever caught a fish that was left on a trot line and they have literally pulled holes in their jaws and parts of their lips are missing where they've had to fight to get loose. And, emotionally that bothers me because I know I'm causing damage to that fish and I'm not there to hurt that fish or the environment. I want to get them back in the water with as less stress as I can. And I want to protect those fish to where my grandchildren, your grandchildren, can go out there and catch these fish again. And, you know, so we got to protect it. It is a resource, and all like all other resources, it can be dwindled down to nothing. But
I see Lorianne again said she uses her needle nose pliers to tighten her knots. I don't know if I would do that, Lori. You might want to figure out a way. Unless you're using the handle and it's got a rubber handle, that would be fine. But I would use nothing metal to guarantee those knots are tight. I would use something soft, even if it's got to be a piece of wood or something. If you're using loop knots and stuff, maybe that. But I wouldn't use pliers for doing that.
see, that's like a lot of people like to offset their circle hooks. I
Mm-mm.
buy them. I buy them offset because I do not want to take pliers and bend on that hook. Anytime you move that metal, you bend it like that, it creates heat. And anytime you create heat, you're taking the tensile strength out of it. And it weakens it. Whether you understand it or whether you see it or not, you have created a weak spot there. And, you know, look up metallurgy
Yep.
and
Hooks,
look
hooks.
look at the effect it has on that metal. And you know, I don't want to lose one because of bad equipment. And there was nothing wrong with the hook when you bought it, but once you attach them pliers to it, and go to bending and twisting on stuff, you're altering the not even when you heat it up, you have changed the chemical compound in that because it is no longer what it used to be.
Yeah, hooks are hardened. Once you scratch them or you bend them the wrong way, it's like taking a little piece out of the edge on your knife.
Yep.
It'll keep going if you don't take care of it and
Yep.
continue that. But yeah, definitely don't do that. There's ways you can do it. I know guys who do it, but they don't use anything metal on metal, and they do it real nice and easy. And the offsets they do are kind of slow. So I've never had a hook break either way, but I don't offset my hooks. I either buy them offset or I don't use them.
There you go. Yeah, if you find teeth marks from pliers on the hook, buy different
Buy
hooks.
different hooks.
Exactly, Roger.
I've heard rumors about some companies ship them like that. I hate to see that.
Yes.
I've not come across it, but I'm set in my ways. I have the hooks I like. I mean, it took Lyle a little while to talk me into trying the Eagle Claw. I think they're the 197s. I really like them. We're probably gonna keep using them as far as my offset hook needs.
Yep. Well, I'll use the Eagle Claws too. I love the Uncle Lou's hooks, but I
Mm-hmm.
do use the Eagle Claw as well, mainly because Eagle Claw, they are one of the only hooks that are still made in the USA.
Yes, they are.
So, that may not mean a lot to a lot of people, but I love supporting the USA. And if I can buy USA,
I got a whole bag of them right here on my desk.
yeah, if I can buy USA products, I will. Uh, and Eagle Claw hooks work, guys. Eagle Claw has been a trusted name. They have been around for many, 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 many years, and they work. You can't argue with that. From little bitty crappie snail hooks all the way up to the big circle hooks.
Yep.
It's kind of like ugly stick. People think of ugly stick as a cheap rod, but ugly sticks are very, very effective. They do their job. They have for years and years and years. When you buy that ugly stick, you have confidence in it and you know it's going to perform. Uh,
Absolutely.
Same thing with the Eagle Claw. I'm not worried about plier marks on the hooks when I buy them. Uh, Buy bulk in China, offset with pliers, no good. Yeah, you're exactly right, Roger. You got to be careful, guys. Uh, I know a lot of people buy off Amazon and stuff, but if I do not know what it is and it's not a trusted brand, I'm not buying it. Uh, I don't want to trust that fish of a lifetime to a Japanese hook that
Japanese hooks. Now we're talking something totally different.
I know nothing about.
Japanese, the Japanese have fishing down to an art. They do it like everything else. I have no problem using. I'd rather use American-made products. Don't get me wrong, but China and Japan, two totally different things.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you ever look into it, I think you'll agree with me. They're ridiculous. You pay for it too. I mean, hooks will cost like 3 or 4 times as much, but there's some Mustad catfish hooks that they'll charge you. They're made in Japan, I believe, $15 for 3 hooks.
Yeah.
That's insane, but I'd like to try them someday.
That's like me back in the days when we were catching the channel cats and stuff. We would use stink bait, and I would go and buy the Mustad saltwater treble hooks for that stink bait, and they were great hooks. But you try and find them now, and it is outrageous.
Here's a tip for the people, or not a tip for me, but if you're using stink bait, go over to Team Catfish and get you some of their fuzzy circle hooks. You don't need to use treble hooks. The circle hook's great, and those little fuzzies stay on the circle hooks just fine. They work awesome. Since I found those, I haven't used a treble hook since. I think they actually work better than a lot of the other stuff. So check them out.
Good night, Misty. I may check into that because a lot of the stink bait, when it gets hot, it thins out and it doesn't want to stay on the hook. So you have to add cattails or something to it to give it some texture to hang on to.
The Secret 7 from Team Catfish already has it in there.
Yeah,
they already thought of that. Yeah.
And then in the wintertime, it thickens and it gets so thick,
Never use it in the winter, not me.
you can't get it on the hook.
I've
But
heard people, yeah, I've heard people put like vegetable oil and stuff in there to thin it out in the winter, but
mill knot, if you take evaporated milk,
uh-huh.
it will thin it out. It does not affect the bait, and it's great. I see Tim Molina. I use the
Absolutely right, Tim. And Ryan from Center Hook says they know fishing. He said Japanese reels. That's enough said too as well.
Diachi hooks, guys, they're tried and true. I have seen them used. Muskrat used to use them. I don't know if he still does. Chris Souders,
He does.
he used them. There's a lot of guys that use them. It's just the Diachi and stuff. It's like the Team Catfish. There's nothing wrong with the Team Catfish hooks. I've used
Not
them;
at
they
all.
work. But I don't buy hooks in packs of 3. My wife, 3 hooks. I by the time I cast out, my wife will go through them 3 hooks in 10 minutes. I need bulk. I
They
don't
have
buy
they have bigger packages available. I have a buddy of mine who's a pro staffer over at Team Catfish, and he's able to get 50 packs. So they're available. You just got to look for them. So it's good quality stuff. The people over there, I use a lot of their crappie stuff as well. I'm pretty happy with it. But those fuzzies, I highly recommend those. I really do.
Send me the link for that after the show,
I
Mark.
will.
'Cause I'm gonna
Absolutely.
have to check that out because my wife, when we go fishing, man, she may fling a hot dog, she may fling stink bait. There is no worm. She will fling anything out there. She does not care. Uh, but yeah, when I order hooks, I have to get them. I try and get like 100 at a time.
I do too.
If they got 50 packs, I buy 2 of them.
Yep.
My sinkers, my weights. When I order weights, I don't order less than 15 pounds at a time. When I tell you she could lose weights, I mean she loses weights. And my mother was like that. I always used to go fishing with my mother, and I'd take my mother fishing, and she's one of them people that would sit there. She's like, if you think I throw over by that tree, I'm going to get snagged up. And I would say, yes. Well, what would she do? She would still throw over to that tree. And sure enough, all your hooks and stuff would be hanging in that tree. It would look like a decorated Christmas tree.
Christmas tree.
Yep. Yep. But hey, Michael Murillo.
There's Mr. Murillo. How you doing, bud?
Yeah, the Diachi hooks are good. Mustad hooks are good. Guys, find something you're comfortable with. The more comfortable you are, and you got to have confidence in it. You don't want to go out there not knowing how your hook's going to perform, your line, your rod, your reel. Confidence goes a long way because then you're focused just on the fishing. You don't have all these what ifs in the back of your mind. And Matt said the link is up. I think he posted it in chat.
We'll find it. We'll get it for everybody.
Yeah. I would definitely check that stuff out. And Mark, I've kept you on here quite a while. I apologize.
It's quite all right.
I
love talking fishing. I just spent 4 days talking with everybody. I'm ready to keep going. I'm not ready to stop ever. I'm always down to talk fishing and go fishing, and it's a good time always when I get to meet with like-minded people, and I always enjoyed your show and stuff. So, and the people in chat are great. I love to see them here.
Miss Lori, don't get down on yourself. We all learn, and that's how we all learn. Nobody come out being a great fisherman. We all had to learn. And I don't care what Chad tells you, no one come out being a great fisherman. We all started somewhere. Hey, Roger Brown, welcome. That's part of learning. We all went through it, Lori. You always heard the old timers tell you about growing pains. Well, we still have them as we get older. We're just having growing pains on different areas.
Yeah, Roger just posted a link to the TT Blake more. I've ordered from there before, and that's where Chris Souders had directed everybody to order them from. So that's a good deal. They sell them by the 100. Just make sure you're picking the right ones out. So
yeah.
And I don't know what it is. I love a red hook. It doesn't bother me what color they are, but I do like a red hook.
I'm not so much on the color. My deal is the hook. I like the
Mhm.
wide gaps.
Oh,
For the,
absolutely. It's like that race car color, you know. People like matching their rods and reels together. I just think a red hook looks pretty good.
me, I have trouble shopping online because it's hard for me to judge size and stuff there.
Absolutely. You know,
Uh,
I got a pile of stuff in my garage I ordered online that didn't know what I was ordering.
yeah, we ordered some hooks online for a bluegill, and when I got these hooks, man, these things were so freaking tiny. They come in little boxes that they did not look like that on the picture.
I
And
think I
I
did the
was
same
like,
thing.
what am I going to do with this? And they're so small, I can't hold these suckers to even tie a line to them.
Yep.
And I'm like, man, and you get burnt like that. That's why I like events like the Cat Con and stuff
Catfish
because I can
conference,
go,
definitely.
yeah, I can put my hands on it. I'm one of them guys. I like to be able to feel it. I like to be able to hold it in my hands. Uh, Online shopping, there's just so many what ifs, and stuff is not cheap. So who wants to go and buy something that once they get it, they're
More
not
than
happy
once.
and you're not going to use it?
I ordered some hooks. I
You know,
thought I was
how
ordering
many?
12-aughts. They turned out to be number 12 circle hooks. They're the smallest circle hooks I've ever seen in my life.
Yep. And see, uh, even hooks, one hook company to the next. All 12 aught hooks are not the same size, guys.
Nope.
You get a 12 aught from Uncle Lou, you get a 12 aught Eagle Claw, 12 aught Diachi, Mustad. They're all different sizes. So pay attention to that when you're buying hooks because if you get, say, you order a 10 aught in certain brands, when you get it, it's more like an 8 aught. Uh, Catfish Sumo hooks, they're kind of on the small side.
Mm-hmm.
uh, pay attention. Pay attention to the fish you're
Mustads
going
are
after.
mustads are on the small size. I learned that the hard way, but I know to order 10-aughts when I'm looking for 8-aughts. So
Yep, and pay attention to your wire size, guys.
yep.
If you're going after 2 and 3 pound channel cat, you do not want a real heavy wire
You
hook.
don't need a 2X or a 3 or a 4. You don't need those.
No, it takes too much to set that hook. Hey, whisker pigs, uh, it takes too much pressure, and you will miss fish because of it. If you go with a thinner, lighter wire hook, you will have a lot better hookups. So that's what I meant earlier, guys. Match the tackle for what you're fishing for.
Yep.
And if you're going after a 40, 50 pound fish, I would not recommend a light wire hook. Go out there with something you know is going to perform. I see Brad Caudell. If you're on a boat, get Lowrance Active Target. Fishing gets easier and fun to see the fish doing their daily routine. Yeah.
I have plans to go out fishing with my friend Violet Talley, and she's a Lowrance sponsored angler. They came out and like tuned hers up to the max. She was sending me pictures. It looks pretty crazy. So I'm looking forward to see what like it's doing at its best out on
Yeah.
her boat. We're supposed to go out to Lake Geneva in a week or two, so hopefully I'll hear back from her.
I've heard things about it because that's kind of their answer to live scope. And
Mm-hmm.
when you're the first one to come out with something, you introduce it into the market, then everybody else is doing things to make it better.
Yep.
So, uh, it's gone and come such a long way. Uh, you know, Even the fish finders and stuff from the old bouncing needles to the fish finders that you got now that have the sonar and the graphs, and now you go to the live scope and stuff like this. It's game changing.
It's
Uh,
crazy. I remember fishing when I was a kid with my neighbor on Lake Michigan, where it actually had a graph that was printed on paper. I
yeah,
remember Mr. Zink was his name, Eddie Zink. He would pull that thing out. He was as blind as I am now. He'd be holding it up to the sun, looking at it. And now look at this these days. It's like a video game using, the active target
yeah,
and live scope and all of that. And don't count Humminbird out. Last I heard, they
yeah.
have somebody from the Department of Defense, a contractor that takes care of sonar and submarines, working for them to get their
Yeah.
issues straightened out. So keep an eye out. There's some exciting stuff. You guys think the rod wars are cutthroat? Wait till you see the
Yeah.
sonar wars that are coming up.
Yeah, they are. And like I say, they just keep upgrading them.
Yep.
And you know, you can, with that live scope and the Lowrance and stuff like that, it's so weird to watch it. I mean, you can literally see the fish on the branch where he's at in the cover. Uh, if there's rocks, you know exactly which rock he's at. You can watch your bait go down to the fish,
Yep.
and there's so much information that you gather from these
We were
now. It's way different.
on Brandon's. He's got Lowrance in his boat, a nicer unit. I forget what model. We were suspending, and he would suspend one right over where his transducer is, and just like ice fishing, you could see that fish swim up, take a look, and turn his
Yep.
butt around and leave. It would
Yeah.
be so disheartening, but you could watch it. So, and that's, if you're an ice fisherman, you'll I think the learning curve for sonar is a lot less, especially the live target and stuff like that, because it's pretty much the same thing, just displayed a little different. So
Yep.
just figure I'd bring that up.
Hey Lloyd, welcome. Yeah, it's come a long way. You know, back in the day, you had the old Humminbird Eagle fish finders,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, uh, I thought they were uptown when they come out with the dock buddies. Remember the little portable fish finders
Yep.
that had the clamp? You could clamp it to the dock and stick it down.
Mm-hmm.
And we've come a long way. Hey, Justin Poncho, welcome. Uh, you know, the fishing finders, the tackle, the rods, the gear has completely changed. Back in the day, we were having to use trolling rods or musket rods. There was not catfish specific rods. You were having to take something that was designed for something else and make it work for what you needed it. But now, you've got all these companies that are making these rods and stuff. Look how many different companies make the circle hook,
Yep.
the fishing line.
Mm-hmm.
It's all catfish specific. Uh, it's come a long way. Uh, Look at how even lead, your basic sinker, look how it has changed over the years and adapted. And now you can pretty much get any kind of sinker imaginable. Uh, it's phenomenal, and it hadn't peaked yet. Catfishing is going to keep growing. It's going to keep expanding, and there's no limits as to what it'll reach. And
Keeps me as an old guy on my toes, that's for sure.
well, and I think about our kids, and our grandkids. Uh, CPR is starting to catch on. People are starting to take better care of the fish and the fisheries. Well, all it's going to do is come back. Look at Santee Cooper, for instance. It was on the decline. Uh, it suffered, and they started the catch and release, the CPR. They put stricter regulations in, and now look at it. It's coming back. You're catching a lot more numbers of the bigger fish. You're catching quantities of quality fish, and it can help. The James River. James River is a phenomenal fishery, but it's not at its peak yet. It's still coming up. The Potomac River. The Potomac River is a rising star. It is loaded with fish, and that Potomac River is going to keep growing. And before long, the Potomac River will be what people are talking about.
Yep.
You may not. You may go out there, and 50s and 60s are going to be your common size fish. Uh, those rivers like that has so much bait available. Those fish grow faster. They put on weight quicker, and they're not stressed. They don't have to travel as far to get that food because there's an abundance of it everywhere. And you know, it's just a great time for fishing all around. Hey, Twisted Fishing.
Let's go ahead, Frank. Better late than never. You can watch the replay. I'll bore you
Yeah.
for in slow time.
But
I mean, I had a blast talking to you tonight, David. It's always fun. It's fun as always, I should say.
I did too, Mark. I wished I had more time. I got to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Holy Toledo.
Yeah, I work early. I'm at work at 4, and I usually get home about 6 or 7 in the evening.
Uh-huh.
Uh, so I am one tired guy. And uh, it's funny in the morning. You talk about husbands and wives as a couple, and man, when that alarm goes off in the morning, there is no love. My wife will just about kick me out of that bed to shut that alarm off.
Don't hit that
And
snooze too many times. That always gets me in trouble.
yeah, I don't hit the snooze. I get
Mm,
up, I put my feet on the floor, and I'm ready to go because
mm.
if I try and lay there and that alarm goes off again, the fight will be on. But
Let me do one thing before we go here. I want to say thank you again to everybody in Ohio that was at the meet and greet. I want to say special thanks to Betty and Brandon Cross for hosting me. I want to
yes,
thank Chad and Dee for making the trip out to visit with us. We had such a good time. I have an Ohio family, Wisconsin family, Missouri family that's growing all over the country, and we all love catfishing, and that's a great place to be. I had so much fun. I want to make sure I let everybody know.
yeah, and it was great to watch. Guys, I appreciate each and every one of y'all for coming in here. I thank y'all. And guys, I want everyone to be safe, take care, and keep your lines in the water and keep going after them. Uh, that's the main thing with fishing. It's time on the water. We're at the time of year now where the bigger fish are scattered out. So, the more you go, the better your chances are. So, keep it up, guys. And I thank y'all, and we'll catch y'all next week.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.